Hello, everyone. This is Jack from Jack Tells Stories. I am so sorry if you were expecting someone else. It is just me. Um, um, so today I'm starting a series, and it's a little early in this channel to start a series, I'll admit, but I had an idea and I got kind of excited about it. So, story behind all of this is that a couple weeks ago, got a tattoo. This is my first tattoo ever. 36 years old. I mean, it's kind of sad, but it's what happened. Anyway, um, so my tattoo, right here, heart, uh, uh, heart, spade, diamond, club, right, has nothing to do with the series. Uh, um, so I got it because there's a casino in my area called the Jack Casino. This is my name, right? And after each letter is the subsequent um, suit. So it spells out my name, and I thought that was cool. And I thought that was, reason enough to get a tattoo on my arm. Anyway, so lately I've been I kind of an afterthought. I was looking into what the suits could possibly mean, and there is actually a history behind them. Some it's a little bit debated, or I guess it's probably more like whatever people decided to subscribe to. Like for some people, the heart means love, but I'm gonna go for this series of stories on what I found to be close to the history, or at least I think. I'm not a card scholar, but so what I found on the internet was that heart means clergy, church. Spade means nobility slash military. Um, Peasants is the club. So I mean, what I found mostly was like farming. Like I know the club can represent fertility and other things, and just whoever you ask. And the diamond means merchant, and or the merchant class. It's the four classes, and I might have to delve into what merchants actually means to people. You know. Uh, so that is the backstory of this series. I think it should be interesting. Um, and as people who know me know, I'm not a super religious man, so it kind of served as a good challenge. So the first installment of the series is simply called The King of Hearts. St. Patrick's was a big church by the water, right off the sand. An old powerhouse church, paid for by old money. Old money comes with a fair amount of expectation. This expectation is present in this archaic cruciform temple for God. The outside was built of stone, the way the partitioners saw just. Giant arches decorating the skies, they thought. Giant stained glass windows meant to catch the sun from the shore. Stained with timeless biblical stories, David and Goliath, the Last Supper. The biggest one was Jonah and the whale. It sat towards the water. This was directed by Pastor McGrady. His thought wasn't what everyone thought, a depiction of a whale overlooking the sea. You see, the reputation of the city of Trident preceded it. At one time, it was involved in war, ruthless killing during the Revolutionary War, in fact. Centuries later, it was ran by the mob. Eventually, it was subject to racial tension. Around the mob era, it was turned into a popular gambling destination. casinos were the big draw. Wild shows, gambling, plagued by plagues of sin, drugs, prostitution, shootouts. Now, it was still for tourists today, but the darkness greatly covered the city. Away from the casinos and the nightlife was the church. During the time of the building's inception, it had been housing to the old money that built it. Over time, however, mansions had been torn down. Liquor stores, beaten up apartments were the only things that remained. The homeless took refuge in the few big houses that remained. In all its history and all its present, Trident has had an air of darkness, of desperation. Trident is one of the most human places you will ever see if you venture out past the casinos. Father McGrady thought the tale of the whale fitting for such a place. The complex darkness mirroring the hopelessness of being in the stomach of a whale. Jonah being the faith of better days. McGrady was not someone without his vices. You could see him after Mass in an old Lincoln Town car, cigar in mouth, headed towards the casinos. Many had guessed at what his time was away, or many had guessed what his time was spent away from the rectory. However, Father McGrady was also a man of faith. He was a veteran of the Vietnam War. You couldn't guess it by looking at him. Though he was tall, his face was anchored by gentle blue eyes, surrounded by a head of gray, bald on top. Age lines on his forehead, characteristic of any 76-year-old man. He wore the collar everywhere, which gave many of the parishioners hope. The truth was, McGrady was a sinner, like everyone, cloth or not. But most of the time, people saw him speeding away. He was on his way to his favorite spot on the beach. He usually stopped at the corner store to buy some bait, and he spent these afternoons fishing, smoking cigars, talking into the ocean. But he saw it as him talking to God, trying to figure out how to lead the people who looked up to him for guidance. Over his lifetime, he had seen everything from beauty and peace, from the beauty and peace of Rome during his time at the Vatican to the destruction and death and mayhem in Vietnam. He had his accomplishments as well as things he was ashamed of. He always turned back to love. He always turned back to his God. Through it all, his biggest challenge to himself anyway was trying to bring Trident back to what he called spiritual center. He wanted to bring this town to a righteous peace not many believed in. His spot on the beach was his heaven on earth. He felt God there. He wanted to bring this to his people. It felt impossible, but he felt like there was a shot if he focused on one person at a time. A heavy task, but somehow he believed. He had to believe that bringing people together, no matter what they believed, wasn't just possible. It was likely. It was a Friday morning during Lent. McGrady was hearing confession. It was gray outside with heavy rain. He had a good line of people. He heard many stories that were ranging from theft of bread to feed a family to infidelity to drugs. Trident's guilty conscience was showing in full effect today, one person at a time. McGrady listened and gave advice and doled out penances. It was getting towards the end, and he was ready to hear his last confession. A man walked in and sat behind the screen, instructing McGrady to keep it closed. He waited. The man had waited until the very end to enter the confessional, ensuring everyone else had left the church. There was a long pause, followed by a very gruff, barely audible voice, just clear enough to make out. Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. It has been 25 years since my last confession. Then a longer pause. A deep, I'm actually doing this sort of sigh. McGrady waited patiently. The voice continued with hesitation. Father, last night I killed a man. Life has not been kind to me. None of it has. And I wanted to see someone suffer. He didn't deserve it. He was just a homeless man in the wrong place at the wrong time. I took him away from the street to an alley and beat him to death. Father, he begged me for mercy, and it fueled my blinding rage. No one ever showed me mercy, and I destroyed him. As I saw the blood seeping out of him, I heard his last gasps. Father, I can still hear his screams. What do I do? McGrady thought a while and replied, The only thing you can, son. Pray for the Lord's forgiveness and turn yourself in. The man started breathing harder and harder. McGrady heard banging on the other side. McGrady had a sudden rush of fear. The man yelled, Are you going to turn me in, Father? Take my moment of guilt and tell the cops? You rat. McGrady responded quickly and softly, That's not my place. I am forbidden by the laws of the Catholic Church to tell anyone what I am told in confession, no matter how I feel about it. The man's breathing slowed, but was still heavy. I can't go back, Father. They will kill me. As did you kill that man. But that's A, no guarantee, and B, what are your other options? I'm guessing this is the first time you've killed. Yes, said the man. McGrady replied, Son, you need to repent and make things right. Otherwise, the homeless man's screams will only get louder in your mind. Believe it or not, I have seen this before. This is the only way. The man paused. What do you mean you've seen this before? I thought you weren't allowed to tell others' sins. Are you lying? You're going to rat, said the man violently. McGrady sighed, one of those you're actually going to do this sighs. Son, I was in Vietnam. Not only that, but I was very good at what I did. The man, taken aback, replied, That's different. McGrady replied, The motive, sure. War. They were coming for us too, but in those days I didn't care. I was angry. I was even there. I'm sorry. I was angry. I was even there. When you give a boy who's angry a machine gun and a license to kill on top of him being forced to be there, the result is not pretty. I curse God for giving me an able body and good eyesight. This was the first war in American history that the soldiers were met by widespread protests upon arrival. Do you know why? Asked McGrady. Because we didn't win, responded the man. Not all of it. Innocent lives were lost, said McGrady. You took innocent lives? Inquired the man. McGrady sighed again. Though quiet, the sigh and the silence that followed it were deafening. Father, said the man. McGrady cleared his throat and spoke slowly, hand on the rosary he keeps in his pocket. I was angry, and there was the enemy who was in the wrong place at the wrong time. I was on lookout while the others slept, and I saw a man, clearly, a soldier from the other side. He didn't speak English, but when he saw me, he put his hands up. From the little of his language I could understand, he was going home or running away. He carried no weapon. I was mad. I took out my knife and shoved it straight through his neck. He fell to the ground, gurgling his own blood, gasping for life. Then I took the knife and rammed it through his stomach repeatedly, until there was no more noise. I lied to myself, and I said I was protecting my troop. Why didn't you turn yourself in? Asked the man. To who? Responded McGrady. The military saw it as justified after I told the whole story, saying this boy could have reported back our position. I knew I was wrong, and no one cared. The man sat in silence. It was deafening. I still hear his gasps. I still see his eyes, said McGrady, breaking the silence. This followed by more silence. The man said finally, after a contemplative sigh, will you go with me? After you pray, said McGrady. And with that, God absolves you of your sins. The pair exited the confessional together. McGrady pointed to the pews. The man rolled his eyes. Priest, he muttered. After that, the man knelt and prayed a while. They got in. After the man knelt and prayed a while, they got in the town car together and drove off. McGrady handed the man a cigar, knowing this would be the last few moments of freedom the man ever had. I'm going to have to say something to end these. Till next time.